What's up, everybody? It's Crypto Coffee here with Tanto and Nomini. Did I say that right?
Tanto Nomini. That's
Nomini?
how you said it's totally fine.
Cool. Got pretty close. Yeah, another fellow hexer, founder of dipcatcher.com. Best way to buy the dip. Check that out. If you guys don't know Tanto, you want to tell them who you are a little bit?
Yeah, sure. My name's Brian. Tanto is just kind of my screen name.
Okay.
I've been into crypto for a couple years now, and I work on startups. So my main thing is I work on a company called fairshake.com. We help people when they get screwed over by big banks, cell phone companies, internet companies, and we help people get legal settlements. And so check that out if you haven't, fairshake.com. And then, so I also, I just love working on startups. And so some things I'm working on, like this one, Dip Catcher, it's just a tool to help people dollar cost average into dips. So the two coins it supports right now is Bitcoin and Hex. It's just a simple email alert system that goes out when there's a good price to buy. It's performed pretty well so far this year. And I've been involved in Hex since, I think the first time I started shilling it was August of 2019. I have a friend who worked in at some institutional fund trading like fixed income products, and I remember him telling me about his job, and I was like, oh, we should check out Hex. It's like a fixed income blockchain product, and so I was kind of waiting eagerly for Hex to launch since early 2019. So I've been kind of following it along then, and I feel like every day I'm learning something new about it, and had a lot of really cool live streams and videos over this year talking about it, and that's been a really cool way to just learn more, just like talking and sharing knowledge. And so it's been really fun to see how much the Hex community has just really evolved over this year. It's been pretty crazy.
Yeah, I'm glad you came out and started making streams and stuff, because we've got more people than ever before, and it's just crazy. I don't know about if you paid attention yesterday, but it was back to back. Like I couldn't get a break. It was just like live stream after live stream. Valiant Brand, Joe Hexotic, like all these new guys coming out, and it's awesome to see. I love it.
Yeah,
and Nardo had a pretty epic. What up, dude? Nice backdrop. Crypto Coffee feels like I'm on Tron. Yeah, we're not going to be talking too much about Tron here, but the movie, yes, the movie. Yeah, your Nardo, your story and everything yesterday was pretty awesome. So that stream with Bran was cool. I was listening to it at the gym. Stefan, cheers. Always enjoy the content. Thanks, bro. We're gonna share what Tanto actually. Sorry, Brian, Tanto, whatever. Do you prefer?
Call me Tanto. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it, yeah.
People call me Coffee, and I'm like, all right, my name is Matt, but call me Coffee if you want. I don't really care either. So what Tanto's working on is called Dip Catcher and dipcatcher.com. I got it pulled up right here. And so basically what it tells you is just, I just did this quick calculation. I'm not sure how it's done on the back end or whatever, but the ROI is what you would have gotten if you put $500 a month into Bitcoin for the last 12 months, using this calculator and using when the dip catcher alerts told you to buy in. You would have had a 2.45x as opposed to a 2.36x. So it just helps get you that extra little, that edge, right? You would have had an extra $500, right? Just by using this free tool, which is crazy that you're giving it away for free. Is it free? Actually,
yeah, it's free. Yeah, I haven't charged anything for it yet.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. And I think you just plugged it into Hex as well as Bitcoin.
Yeah. Bitcoin is the first one that I built. Like, I think I started working on it like way early this year, and then just recently I just added Hex. It's similar. It's a little bit different. I actually made the Hex one a little bit more aggressive. The Bitcoin algorithm is a little bit conservative because it's meant for like long-term dollar cost averaging. But the Hex one, just because this thing pumps and it never comes back, I made it a little bit more aggressive. So
that's awesome. Yeah, buying the dip in Hex so far. I mean, we've got only 1 year of data to work off of, but it's pretty much, it's proven to be in that time a great idea to buy any 60% plus dip. I mean,
especially with how because it's still in this it's only had its first 100x move. where Bitcoin at this point has had its first 20,000x move, and because it's only had that first 100x, buying the dips, it actually makes a pretty big difference, because the lower that you can buy, the less as it gets higher, the less percent increase that you need to get each additional X to your multiple. If you because right now, if you're buying Bitcoin at 20,000, it takes a new $20,000 move in order for you to add another X to your ROI. And so, but buying the dips on things, especially, with Hex, where it's, the price is really low. It's, it's still risky because it's so young. But that 60% dip can really make a difference, in your long-term ROI. And so,
yeah, it's a great tool. You guys everybody should go subscribe and, put your email in there. What's going on, everybody in chat? We got 30 people. What's up, Max Bonnet? What's up, Old Man Hex? Nardo, good to see you. Marty, Team Hex. That's right, man. I'm glad to see you're still in Hex after what happened. Glad you're still with us. Desat said, wahoo. Colin, what's up, dude? Unhexables, got his chips and guac. Johnny said he was literally just using this. Sweet. Battered Bull, Tanto, how and when did you first discover Hex, and what made you want to get some stakes? I forgot this isn't AMA, so Tanto, how did you get into it?
So a couple years ago, I was working on my first startup. It was actually a virtual reality photography app. My background's in optical sciences and optical engineering, and so I used to be working on 3D imaging products, and so I was building this VR camera and this VR app. And my startup got funded by a crypto company called Simple Token. And it was part of their ICO. So I was getting paid in Simple Token for 2 years. So from 2018 through 2019, I was, getting paid from this ICO that launched. And during that time, from when it started, the price pumped from 6 cents to $1.40. And then it was pretty much just dumping from there. But so I was getting paid in crypto to fund my startup. And so I started watching Richard Hart's videos, because what I was doing was, trading the Simple Token for Bitcoin, and then using the Bitcoin, trying to, just trying to trade it to extend the life of that funding that I was getting, so I could fund my startup. And so I started watching Richard Hart's videos in early on 2017. And 2018, when I was, trying to figure, because I'd never done any type of investing or trading before. It was just kind of thrust, I was just kind of thrust in this situation where I was getting, where all my company's income was in crypto. And so I was just looking, Richard Hart, the people that I was really learning a lot from, were Richard Hart and Trace Mayer. And so I was just following along Richard Hart's videos, and then I was actually kind of into it when he was originally trying to launch the CFD token, the computational fluid dynamics coin. I thought that, was kind of interesting. Looking back, I don't think it's a good thing he switched the idea to Hex, because looking back, that was, that doesn't increase the monetary premium that you would pay. Having the mining be doing something important, that doesn't do anything for what type of monetary premium people are willing to pay. So good thing he switched from that. But, I was like, oh, wow, this is crazy. That was kind of in the heyday of, ICOs, where the wackier the idea was, more would get funded. So, I was kind of following along with that. And then, as it progressed into Bitcoin Hex, which I think was originally supposed to be wrapped Bitcoin on Ethereum. It wasn't even supposed to be what it is today. And then just over time, it continued to evolve into the blockchain certificate of deposit, which I'm really into the coins that are more like financial products instead of just blockchain protocols. And so that was what really kind of kept me captivated by it. And so I've kind of been following along with that progression early on.
Awesome.
And
so did you get to sell any Simple Token at the highs, or did you just
I sold some at the highs, but I also bought at the highs too. So I left a ton of money on the table with Simple Token. I had some good exits on that, because I was getting paid every month, and every month like this, like the ICO smart contract would unlock some simple token for me. And like during the early part of 2018, it was like significant amount of money. And so I definitely, you know, I was able to stretch the money out, but I left so much money on the table. Like
Man,
you wouldn't believe it.
that's such a cool story. Like there's no shortage of opportunity in crypto. And I think
Yeah.
you capitalized on it from an actual business, like working on crypto standpoint, not just sitting around waiting for other people to pump your bags. You were in it trying to actually fund your own startup and just more of an active role, which I didn't become active until, you know, 20, like really just until Hex launched. I was a passive sidelines guy. And,
Yeah.
you know, once you step through and just take that red pill, you know, you realize you kind of have control over, you know, where you push the destiny of whatever you're trying to shill, which is Hex.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And like, you know, at that time, you know, I was definitely, you know, shilling simple token, and, you know, it sucks because, you know, that was just in the dumps. And I think that experience really showed me the, like comparing, like in a lot of my videos on the Dipcatcher YouTube channel, I always talk about like comparing Hex to Simple Token, because Simple Token is kind of like one of these like classic ICOs where, you know, raise a lot of money, some crazy business idea of what they're going to build, you know, some like snazzy roadmap, partnerships, you know, like all these things, all these other coins, like, you know,
classic ICO, like,
yeah. And what it really turns into is like what that really showed me is that all those things are really just a massive source of overhead that actually hurt the price of the coin, because, you know, we're, you know, like for Simple Token, you know, their whole thing was, it was like a blockchain platform that you could launch a token for your app. And so I was working on my VR content sharing platform, and I was trying to figure out content monetization. And so I was trying to build like a, you know, way for people to like vote on content, earn money from it. It was like a really cool thing that we were building, but like you know, in order for the coin to perform, it required like an entire new like business use case to like, you know, and like business development, you know, to take place in order for, you know, companies to, you know, buy a bunch of this coin, stake it in their app to mint their own coin, and like do all these things that like they're saying is going to pump the price. And so like it just required so much future work and like everything to go right, and like this particular coin to like gain traction in businesses and like onboard businesses, have them integrated, which was, you know, like we never even successfully integrated because it was just too difficult. And so like, you know, all these things are, you know, people like where, you know, like when people talk about like, oh, like we're going to conquer this like crazy business use case and our coin's going to pump, like that's just so hard anyways. Like business is hard, and integrating new technologies is hard. And so like just the odds of that actually happening are so low. And so that just like makes it more and more risky. So that was one thing that really kind of, you know, what I like about Hex, where it's not like trying to conquer some business use case. It's like an existing financial product that works today. And then also like, so they had like, you know, a whole team of developers, because, you know, they had been building this platform. The product complete launch, you know, it was like what they're going to build. So they were, you know, having to pay their team in Simple Token and in the Ethereum they had raised, and they even raised venture funding. And they're not raising the venture funding to pump the price of the coin. They're raising that to pay their team. And so there's just like all this like development overhead. And that, you know, and so like it just, you know, that doesn't help the price. And that's what, you know, I like about Hex, where there's really no development overhead. You know, like there's no like budget, there's no operating expenses to like run Hex.
There's no Hex being sold like on the open market. It's not a company. Like a lot of these cryptocurrency things that are supposed to be decentralized really are just centralized companies at the end of the day that have to turn a profit. And the easiest way for them to do that is not to produce anything of value, but to sell their own token, which is just constant, you know, sell pressure. And Hex, we got none of that. So overhead is an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah. Because I mean, that I think, you know, really kind of killed that. And then even like, you know, they're paying, you know, all these partnerships, like they're paying me and like a handful of other developers in the coin. And the first thing I was doing when I get it was just dump it for Bitcoin. And so like, you know, all these different elements, you know, like partnerships, like it's so funny to look at like coins like XRP and some of these other ones where they're like, oh, we have all these partnerships. I'm like, yeah, you're paying them in your coin and they're just dumping it. Like partnerships hurt the price. Like you don't want partnerships. Like you want people to be buying and hoarding the coin. Like you don't want to be giving. And so that I think really like that experience with Simple Token really kind of honed me into the value proposition of Hex and like just why I think it's so poised to perform well.
That's so funny that it really, people giving away their coin has the opposite of the intended effect, right? And this happens even with people, buying off influencers with their, by giving them, let's say, hey, I'll give you 10,000 XYZ coin if you shill this coin on your YouTube channel. Like, what are they going to do with the coin? They're gonna shill it maybe one time and then probably dump it, right? And so you're really shooting yourself in the foot with that. It's nice that on Hex though there is this big mysterious bag of ETH, right? Which we could sell into a much more liquid market that way. And so whatever happens with that, and nobody knows, but that just it mitigates the risk of having to dump any Hex for things like marketing or whatever might occur. But
yeah, definitely.
Say hi in the chat real quick. What's up, Big K? What's up, Motley? We got the OG squad today. Hexadente, Pabalava, how's it going? Hexadente, Joe Hexotic, what's up, dude? Crypto Learner, Huddle Dog, thanks for the Europe friendly time stream. You're welcome. Just morning over here. So, Johnny Chaos, what's up?
Made the funniest video the other day.
Johnny?
Yeah.
I don't think I saw it.
Welcome to the Cryptocurrency Olympics Marathon. Coming in first place is... Can't say that name.
That's right. That was good. Yeah, he's got great Twitter content. That dude. Yeah. Castrolette, what's up, man? Hextoshi, whoa, can see right through Coffee's head. That's right. It's the Matrix. All the see right into space and time. What's up, Abit? And let's see if we got any questions. It's an AMA, so we were going to talk about one topic which you brought up, super interesting. If anybody's familiar with the stock to flow model in Bitcoin, I'm going to read the kind of what it is, right? So it's typically an indicator, it's a stock to flow ratio. And that's an indicator that people use in precious metals, and it's been tried to be applied to Bitcoin because it's kind of similar in the fact that it's actually scarce. So stock to flow ratios are a ratio of, it's the current stock of a commodity divided by the flow of new production. So the amount, in Bitcoin, that'd be the amount mined in a certain year. So the current existing Bitcoin divided by the new amount coming in. And you were saying we could actually take that concept and apply it to Hex, or actually apply it to shares rather, because shares are the thing with actual scarcity in Hex, right? Hex inflates, but shares, there's a finite amount. And yeah, it might be in the quintillions or maybe even hextillions. I'm not sure how many zeros there are, but there's a lot of them. And you can take the total stock of those divided by the amount of new shares being bought and taken out of the market every year. Is that the idea? And then get a stock to flow model?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the general concept. Like, with these types of things, because there's so many unknowns. It's more just kind of like a mental framework to think about these things. And the way I view it is just like the relationship between the amount of new Hex entering the supply relative to the existing Hex supply. And I a couple months, it was on November 1st, I had made just kind of like a rough estimate of just generally like what the Hex supply inflation schedule is, considering big payday, because the big payday that it's paid out over it's paid out across all the shareholders on November 19th, and so that extends out from day 351 to day 5,800, whatever, like 5555 plus 351, and so I made this chart that maybe I can share here. I'll just share it with you, and maybe you can share it on the screen.
Do you have a share
button? Oh yeah,
at the bottom there. Maybe you can go ahead.
Okay, let's do that. Yeah, so I just made this like rough estimation just by what I did is I took the just all like the expiring share. Oh, is my screen sharing right now?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, cool. So, just, the expiring shares, and then, I'd estimated roughly what the, what the payout was over that time. It actually went down because at this time, I was accounting for what the stake percentage was, on November 1st. It definitely went up in between November 1st and November 19th. But what we've already seen is like in Bitcoin, with this, like the stock to flow, it's really centered around the 4-year halving cycle, which we don't have. Like we don't have the that in Hex. But what I think is pretty interesting is that we have this, I call it the tenthening. It was like the inflation from the launch phase to the inflation now, and so these numbers are actually probably going to be a little bit smaller because on the last couple of days before a big payday, there was so much more staking going on that this estimate was a little bit off. And so, but what you see is, like kind of from here, when you look at these are all of the Hex shares expiring, over time. Like, you see these these jump, kind of spikes in the share rate. And you can kind of see those on this, where this year, the total supply inflation is still like the 3.69%, but including the the big pay, the coins coming online because of big payday, the inflation rate is actually closer to like 11%. I think it's a little bit lower because this was based on different estimates, but just in general, you can kind of see the shape of the expiring shares in this daily inflation. So, so you can kind of see it decrease and then peak around the 10, because that's like the max bonus, and then you can kind of see it. So even though Bitcoin has that periodic 4-year halving where it's like a big change in that stock to flow ratio, I actually think that we're going into this first 15-year period, and then even into the next one. I think we're actually going to see kind of echoes of these this big supply shock here, and then the supply shock that's going to come online here, into the future. So this, I'll have to make an updated version of this, but the Hex inflation, considering the big payday, it kind of if you look at the expiring shares, this can kind of be kind of like a proxy for what the true inflation is, where where you see these these big spikes on these key dates. I think this is probably the 6 year, for some reason people are doing 6-year stakes, 10-year, and 15, and so I think that'll be really interesting to watch. And aside from just the Hex inflation stock to flow, the Hex, the new concept that I've been thinking a lot more, especially now that the GraphX.rocks has been putting up some of these figures, is what's the stock to flow of the shares, because the share price goes up over time. So every day it gets more and more expensive to gain shares, but at the same time all the liquid Hex could be converted into shares. And so there's kind of these two counteracting things where the share price only goes up, but every day there's 3.69% divided by 365 new Hex coming online that could be converted into shares. So the amount of Hex that could go in, that could become shares, is going up, while the number of shares per Hex is going down. And so those are kind of two counteracting forces, and especially as people buy Hex and then stake it for a long time, those Hex and all the interest that's going to come from those Hex, it's accumulating that interest every day, but it's only coming online at the end of the stake. And so I definitely don't have any any kind of rigorous analysis on what this is, but I think this is something that that people should definitely be taking a look at, because the shares are really that's what you're buying in Hex. Hex is the coin, but the real thing you're buying is the shares, because the shares are what pay you interest. And so
and all that,
I think
all that liquid
really
Hex coming out, all that that chart of future market supply that everyone loves, that tells you when more liquid hex is going to be available. And you have to assume that some portion of that liquid hex is going to be restaked, either that or, sold, and it's going to be sold to maybe somebody else that might restake it, right?
Mm-hmm.
As long as it's not, sold to the origin address or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more of just, this is the emission schedule of liquid hex, and some of this has to be converted into shares, right? We don't know what portion that would be and over how much time.
Mm-hmm.
But that's going to increase the rate of new shares being bought. And if that's what you're using as your metric for stock to flow, that's going to make the stock to flow go, I think, down, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because that's the denominator. So it's like, so yeah, I guess maybe somebody could chart that. And, I don't know if it worked out for Bitcoin as like a reliable source of price
Mm-hmm.
or anything like that. But for a while, I think it was working well. And then I think it diverged during the bear market or something like that. But
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely
and those things are, because that only covers the supply. It doesn't cover the demand. And I mean, with things like Bitcoin, this like the supply is kind of a source of demand, like this like strict supply cap and like the known emission schedule getting there, like that is why there is demand for it. And same with Hex, like the share rate only going, that compound interest that you can earn, that's like a source of demand. That like inspires demand. And so I think that that plotting, even though it doesn't, because it can't predict who's going to buy and when, but it's kind of like a top level view of like why people are buying this.
Yeah, definitely. It'll show the scarcity and all that. Sig Hex wants to know, how is inflation applied in Hex? I believe it's paid to stakers, right? So stakers get a percentage of that, and it only comes on the market when they end their stake, right? So the entire supply of all the available Hex, take 0.0369 of that, and that's going to be all the inflation for the year, and then divide that up proportionally to everyone that is staked, right? And everybody gets a piece of that pie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like looking at go.hex.com for that. I mean, this has really all this. Richard Howard, if you're watching, I would love if this had a little export CSV for this.
Yeah.
But I think what it comes from. Let's check this math if we're correct. 567,085. Okay, so we need 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's the total supply, and then say the amount paid to stakers. They pay out total 62,851,123. And so if you were to multiply that by 365, it's this number, it's the 3. So this is 4.04%. So that means that the 3.69% plus all the people whose stakes ended today, who got some of the big payday bonus. So that's why this is slightly above the 3.69% annual inflation, because today people got that. So that's kind of what I. Oh wait, I'm not sharing my screen.
Oh, that's okay.
But yeah, so when you if you go on go.hex.com, here I'll just share it again so we can.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So, taking this total supply number up here, and dividing today, whatever the last day's daily payout was, 62.851 million divided by the total supply of Hex, today, and then multiplying that by 3.6 or 365, because this is the daily. This is today's percent inflation times 365, and it's slightly greater than the 3.69%. And
that's because of big payday, right?
Yeah, because that's those coins, for everyone whose stake ended, that was yesterday. They got the big payday, and so that goes into the the daily payout, and so that's why so the inflation, like I said, this estimate was done before, a couple weeks before big payday. So that's why over this time, the inflation is going to be slightly higher than the 3.69%. Then after 2036, it'll always be 3.69% because all of the big payday.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
This is a chart that I made on one of my streams that shows
Yep.
this, the inflation up here, then like here's kind of like this like day, like the big payday inflation plus 3.69% yearly inflation. And then after
because
this,
big payday was applied to people that were already staked. So you are going to have 15 years after big payday, because that was the maximum amount somebody could have staked at that time. Yeah, you're going to have higher inflation. That just kind of clicked for me. Hopefully it did for some other people too. But yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool to see these like, 3 eras of Hex. And, like these, I think that these waves will kind of like, they'll kind of echo because, like when a bunch of like, say on, like right here around year 10, they, with this like big amount coming online, these people, like it's like a big increase in the amount of Hex that is staked, coming online, plus the big payday bonus. And then the question is like, what happens with that Hex? Like, does it get restaked? How long does it get restaked? And so
maybe
like,
the dip comes before that too, because people are going to front run it. So it's like, yeah, maybe your lines are exactly kind of right. And then I like how it just goes off into the galaxy.
yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So we're about at the green, like the green parabolic run right now. Is that what you're telling us?
We're like right here.
Oh my God. That's chart porn right there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And it's, who knows what, I mean, there's no y-axis on this price because, it's so hard to predict what the price is going to be. But
yeah, with parabolic, like when you have to chart stuff on the log scale, like nobody knows like when that's going to top or whatever. I have no way of, estimating that. I don't know if you do. Bitfinet or Batter Bull said, oh, sorry. Talking about something else. Scroll down. Okay, never mind. We're gonna I hope you guys figured that out. Abit says, what is your favorite part of Hex Game Theory? For me, it's the awesome locking mechanism. Yeah, man. It's the penalties, I think. The penalties are something that nothing else has. Nothing else makes you keep your word like that. So it incentivizes good behavior, and actually, like what Matty Allen talks about, it actually incentivizes positive behavioral psychology. And it teaches better habits because you're playing a better game, Yeah. What about you?
I like the penalties a lot. If I was to redesign Hex, I would make it so that the only thing I would change would be that if you end your stake at all before the end, 100% penalty.
Oh, harsher penalties.
Yeah, harsher penalties.
Okay.
Yeah, because even though like I do like the concept of ending your stake early to stake longer to earn more shares, which I think is probably going to be a little bit less prevalent now that big payday is done, because there's not like a huge like time sensitive reason to get that many more shares. Like because there's like a big that 40% increase of the share price after big payday. But yeah, I think like I wish the penalties were harsher. And so that's you know what I mean? Because but I do like that, like the penalties are valuable because without them it wouldn't work. Like if you could just end your stake and get all your principal back, then like there's no point in having the staking at all. And so I think that the penalties are that's really important. I love the share, like I think probably my favorite thing is the compound interest enforced through the increasing share rate. I think that's like just that's what I think will always give Hex like energy to the upside, is because it like puts pressure on you today to start a stake longer, because if you already have your Hex, you every day that goes on you're inflating away, and then and especially something that I experience is like when I'm setting stakes, I'm like, all right, I'm a stake for like 4 years, and then I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, if I can wait 4 years, then why not 5 years? If I can wait 5 years, why not 6 years? And then it's just kind of like it starts stacking up, and then you're like, okay, well, like if you're going to wait that long, you might as well just wait a little bit longer. And so I really like the compound interest, where every day, like, that your Hex isn't staked, you're paying the compound interest to the people that have their Hex staked. So
Yeah.
I think that's probably my favorite part.
Yeah, that's awesome. I got my first stake coming out on, I think, Christmas, so I'm excited to like experiment about like what I'm actually going to do in terms of restaking and selling. But Marty says, is there any way to get access to your interest in Hex without waiting to the end? No, sir. Sorry, bud. You gotta wait. There, that's one way to do it, is like have the interest be liquid. But what that would do, and the reason that that's not in Hex, is because if you had liquid interest coming out, let's say every day, that's just constant sell pressure for people that want to play that game, and it doesn't do any good for the price. So it's actually kind of a good thing. But yeah, you can't access it early.
Yeah.
Hexagon says, yeah, create a staking ladder. Yeah, it's good to create a ladder because then you always have something coming out. And we talk about 15-year stakes all the time. I get it, but we also don't want to wait that long for all of our money, right? So I'd be surprised if anybody just did one YOLO fucking 15-year stake and then that's it and walked away.
That God whale that like,
oh, maybe he did, but that's a little crazy. It's like, okay.
Yeah,
I mean, I want
the staking ladder's a move. Yeah, and especially for I think we were talking about like we're definitely in the younger crowd of Hex, and so like I'm thinking about it on like a 30-year time horizon, and even like a 45-year time horizon, because like my staking ladder now, that's going to be great, and every one that comes on is going to be even more and more lucrative, but like that's why I'm really focused on trying to make money outside of Hex. Like I want to be truly wealthy, like not in Hex, because I want to be able to afford to just like every stake that comes in done in my staking ladder, I want to roll that to a max length stake so that my year 2035 to year 2050 staking ladder, every single one that's coming online is earning the maximum interest that it could. And so that to me is what I'm really kind of my like framework around like my timeline. I'm thinking not only in this like first 5,555 day period, I'm thinking about like the next two. And so that's kind of what I'm really looking forward.
Yeah, that's awesome. Joey Paletti said, if you are over 50% of your stake, when you end, you will earn some interest. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. If we got any questions, feel free to ask. It's an AMA. All right, that makes sense. Thanks. Student says, do you think there should or could be an option to sell your stake to someone else? I think people could potentially do that. You'd have to sell basically your private keys with a stake on them, and that like with a stake only. I don't think they were really designed to be easily tradable. Theoretically, you could. There was a reason why they weren't designed to be tradable. I forgot what Richard Hart said about that.
I think, well, probably the reason why they are not tradable, like why the shares like aren't transferable, is that would just defeat the purpose. Like, because if you could sell them, then it's like as if they're not staked at all. And so I think that's part of the reason. And then and also like I think that the way like I think someone's probably going to create this somehow. But you know how early on there were like those games where people would pool their Hex together and stake it through a contract, and then to get the bigger pays better. Something like that, where you're staking through a contract, and then it mints you some other coin that is transferable, and then that could be sold. But then the risk that you're taking is that like you're whatever that contract is could be audited, but we see audited contracts fail all the time. It's almost like you're staking through a third party. So like it introduces like even though it's a smart contract, it's still kind of like some form of counterparty risk.
Yeah, and it's also social implications too. Like, what if you are in a group with 10 other people and one guy? I mean, I guess in a good contract there would be no EES button for those pooled stakes, but what if there was, and some asshole nukes it, and at the expense of everybody else? So that's risky. But you do have hex pools. There's one scam and there's one legit one. I don't want to say the scam one, but there is like a tool out there that it's called Hex Pool, and yeah, you can like, that was what the original intent of Bigger Pays Better was for, was so that people would pool their stakes to earn that, and maybe you can earn an extra 1 or 2%, right? Yeah, I think Richard said that actually in a recent stream. Marty wants to know, Tanto, how are you planning to get rich outside of Hex? Good
So
question.
just, doing startups. The like, the startup that I work for now, it's a legal tech company. And so I was like employee number 5. And, so I was like the first developer to join the team. And then now it's like, we have like almost 15 people. And so definitely working on startups. Things like the thing that I think is like the most important types of like, and like the most like lucrative type of business you can create is something that just helps people make money or get money. So, kind of what I was talking about earlier with like my VR startup that was getting funded by that crypto company. We're really trying to figure out how to like monetize content creation. So like helping content creators and like content moderators make money. And then now at the startup that I'm at now, like, we help people get legal settlements from, banks and cell phone companies that screw them over. And so, just like helping people get money, I think is like the best way to get rich is to just like help others and like serve others so that they can like make money.
Yeah.
So that's what
why
I'd
I wanted.
recommend.
That's a great way to look at it. That's why I wanted to create a Hex course as well. Not to just make money personally, but I legitimately want to teach other people how to do what I'm doing in Hex because it can make like there's enough room for the whole world to get into Hex. Like there's so much more potential to go. It's only year 1. So I do not feel like even a little bit bad about like I'm fully bought in and like you have to sell yourself before you can sell other people. But I really do think that this could change and make millions of people like actually wealthy. Like I know Richard says that, but I mean, I also agree when you think about the untapped market of not only people in Hex, but people in crypto in general, and just how young the coin is and how the unit bias is fixed and everything. So I want people to put up, $50 or however much the course would cost, because that indicates that they have some kind of skin in the game and they paid for something, so they'll be more likely to actually do it. Right. That's why I'm actually charging. Like it is also to get income. Right. But I'm not going to give it away for free because then no one's going to really watch it or take it seriously. So
Yeah.
there is like a threshold where people, if they put their money behind something, they're more likely to complete it.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. Let's see. Where do we go? Glad to have Tanto. Me too. Good point. Positive loop. You can use the bigger pays better to get more interest after the 15-year stakes. Yep. I think that's true. We got Valiant Brand. How's it going, man? Cast Roulette says over 50% completed stakes that have big payday bonus will still nuke. Okay. I mean, that's an interesting theory. I'm not sure if they're all going to nuke. We've seen a lot of people nuke even with the, the flashy new red button and all that stuff.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think so many people are still nuking?
Dude, I think people are really just not smart. Like after being in crypto for a while, I've lost a lot of hope for like some portion of humanity is just never going to learn, and they just want immediate gratification. And maybe those people don't deserve the money right? Because I don't know, it should be a learning experience for them too. Like you can nuke yourself and then learn, right? Learn what you did, learn how to read about what you're buying instead of just clicking buttons and hoping it works out. Yeah. It's truly reckless behavior. I think either at this point, there's not much to get fudded out about, right? We've gone through all of the oh my god, like existential FUD, right? So at this point, I don't really know why somebody would be EESing at less than 50%, right? I can understand they're at 50 and they want to maybe get into something else, some other coin or something, but like 1 day after survey or 10 days after staking for 3,650 days, it's like it's I don't know. It makes me ashamed.
Especially like it's one thing if it's just like one stake, but like I think yesterday I saw somebody, or maybe it was a couple days ago, like numerous stakes, like completely nuked, and it's like
that could also be a hack, I guess, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That it must be like maybe they either someone found their maybe they backed up their private key on a picture on their phone, like a screenshot, and then someone hacked their iCloud and then took it or something, just something like that. And then, where the hacker, maybe the hacker didn't know about like how that would work. And, so maybe that
makes sense.
Or just, maybe someone's just like they just truly have no idea. And I think, you'd think everyone that's on like on Twitter or in the telegrams would like know about it, but like, there are probably a lot of people that land on Hex just from watching like a single YouTube. They're not really, part of, kind of like our like echo chambers where like everyone knows the penalties. Like, Hexo literally celebrates the penalties every day on the stream. Like it's like, there are people outside of that like sphere of influence that probably just have no idea about what the penalties are.
Yeah, well, that's a good idea that I should probably make a video about. That idea came up, and the Pumpamentals idea came up. So I want to make a new video, like the top 7 Pumpamentals of Hex or something like that, because I want to start creating evergreen content and stuff that's not going to be watchable years later. So I've realized, like looking back at a lot of my videos, oh man, all this stuff is not relevant anymore. Like it's all about big payday and like all about claiming and the adoption amplifier. And I was at the time, that was what people needed to hear, right? Because that was what was going on. But now it's like a chance to recreate all this content. And like I just did a how to buy Hex video, because my last how to buy Hex video was going through the adoption amplifier and overcomplicating it. So I might even take that one down just so people don't get confused, right?
Yeah.
So there's
what do you think are the top 7 Pumpamentals of Hex?
Good question. Share price always goes up, right? Penalties is one. Bigger pays better, longer pays better are Pumpamentals in their own way. Maybe they're 2 separate ones, but there's that. There's oh man.
I think the burnt coins, the coins like truly being burnt until they're restaked. And then probably, I mean, I guess it's part of longer pays better and the share price always going up, but like the majority of the inflation is going to people who are staked for a long time. And after something that we haven't seen, like no long-term stakes have come online. Like the average stake length is like 4.5 years. So we even had like the average stake length, come out yet. And so the majority of the inflation is getting paid to the people whose stakes are ending in many years from now. And think about just like the mindset that those people are going to be in. They see, especially in those last couple of days of a long-term stake where like you could be earning more than your principal like per day. Like just, everyone knows, that's coming, and, we can kind of, mentally calculate that. But until that's like actually like experienced by people, I think that like maybe that like, crop of like the long-term stakers, like they see how much they made. Maybe they're just going to roll that again into like another max link stake. And so I think that like, that like we haven't seen that Pumpamental really take root yet, but just the ROI that's going to be paid to those people, it might incentivize, them and everyone else who's like watching maybe without long-term stakes. So like, okay, like this is real. Like this actually happened.
Well, that's one of those emergent things, right? That wasn't technically designed into it, but just like freeing up time to not trade and instead promote and pump the bags, right? Like that's a Pumpamental. That was an emergent one. What you just said is another one, right? Maybe after such a long time horizon, they'll be more incentivized to restake after those long ones. So it's just perpetually, it's like a momentum conserving device kind of, right? So there's things that weren't even coded in that just come up socially, like even the controversy is kind of a Pumpamental.
Oh my, yes, that I that's the best one.
Yeah, I mean it makes it fun, all the drama, but and then
because the Pumpamental is because everyone who just it's just like people that hate on Hex for these reasons they're making up, like truly they're making up. What they're doing is they're just mispricing the risk. Like, the whole point of price is to measure risk. And all the people that aren't buying Hex right now because they have some false idea, or, they listen to some influencer online that just totally misled them, just slandering someone because he made something that they don't have the capacity to create. Like all those people that aren't buying Hex for that reason, like they're mismeasuring that risk, and so when the market corrects them and then finally they stop mismeasuring that risk, that's like a huge Pumpamental. It's like that's gonna be like the short squeeze of all short squeezes is when like
awesome. And that's why we have such asymmetric information right now. People like us on the inside, we know that the real risk reward is incredibly high. because there's really not much existential risk to Hex failing. Whereas I think a lot of people still think, oh, the origin address is going to dump all the coins on the market. And after you've been able to get through your head that that's just not like a risk. I mean, sure it is, but also, an earthquake and a solar flare and, a meteor could hit the earth, right?
Yeah.
But I think, knowing and just having that information that's different than what the information is that other people have, that's opportunity right now. And so, this is still accumulation. Like this price 0.0056, are we at 0053? It's still like dirt cheap, guys. I mean, this can go really, really high. Let's see. As a retailer, can I promote the use of it? Yeah, of course you can. I mean, it can be used for payments. But what Gary does, Funding Jim, is like he says you can pay me in Hex for a discount for my services, right? So he's getting more Hex. The person on the other end of the bargain is learning about Hex. They might choose to keep some later, but they're giving it to Gary because he wants to actually probably stake it. He might sell a little bit to pay for life, right? But that's one option that you can do. Not as a retailer, maybe that's more as like a service provider. But as a retailer, I mean, you can use ZK Sync and have instant transactions. There's a lot of friction, right? You need to assume that the other person has a wallet, which like you're not going to take an hour out of your day to set up a wallet for somebody just for, if they're buying a Snickers bar, right? Like it's not super, like crypto in general is not super payments. No one's using it for payments, right? Just because it can be used for payments doesn't mean anybody cares about that. We have it and nobody cares. So interesting. Yeah. I mean, theoretically, yeah.
Yeah. And what I think like retailers in general, like, if you like, if you're willing to accept payment in it, that's totally fine. Don't waste all your time trying to onboard people to do payments in that. Rather, just take those dollars that they're paying you and dollar cost average into Hex, and then add it to like a staking ladder. Because like you're, like if they're buying the Hex, and you don't want to like cut off your own business just so you can get paid in it, like when you can just as easily just buy it yourself with that income. So I'd say I would like to see a lot more businesses, just like, kind of what this Michael Saylor guy's doing in Bitcoin, turning corporate treasuries into Bitcoin. I think Hex is actually a really strong candidate for those types of coins, because a lot of companies already hold certificates of deposit. Yeah. Like with like long, corporate treasuries. And so, because it earns interest and it has the, like the upside potential. I think Hex, like, it fits in with Bitcoin in that use case of something that like businesses can reasonably hold for like, a long period of time. So
that's awesome.
Sure. Yeah.
SigHex says you're smart as fuck.
Thank you.
Chart Online says if the Hex price was $23,000, how much Hex would you stake? That's some moon boy talk, man. That's how much Hex would I stake? I don't even know. I might buy myself an entire nation state at that point. I don't know what else. If it was 23,000, we would all be the richest people in the entire world. So yeah, I don't even know how to comprehend that question.
I'd probably just ape into a max length stake and
yeah, I put it into IOTA.
Yeah.
Oh man, you could buy some ad space on my blog with Hex. All right, cool, man. Ads are cool. I just started a Facebook ad campaign, actually. Let me see if they got approved. I've been trying to. Oh yes, they got approved. Fuck yeah.
Oh, your Hex ads? Or
yeah, on Facebook. They just got approved. Nice. I just refreshed the page. I'm doing an A/B test on a couple to see what audience works better. If it's just a blanket, no interest targeted is going to work better, or if like the money investing interests are going to work better. Nice. But I had to change a whole bunch of stuff. So apparently, for anybody out there running ads, just as a tip, you can't have arrows if you're doing Facebook, Instagram advertising. You can't have big arrows on your ad because they think you're trying to like point to something else on the screen. And like I don't know. It kind of makes sense. So that one got banned, but I had a designer guy. Thank you. I forgot your name, but thank you. He took the arrows off. And then I tried making headlines that said passive income with Hex, and that didn't work because apparently that language is overly sensational or something like that. So you can't, which is kind of dumb, but you can't make anything that might be misleading. So they ban phrases like make money online or work from home or passive income. All of the phrases that do very, very well because people click on that shit all the time. They unfortunately ban. So I think I just went with, Hex Digital CD as a nice vanilla, I just didn't want to, I wanted to get in, and like once I get approved, which I guess I just got approved, we'll see who's actually clicking on these, and we can start to make a lookalike audience, which is like you take all the people that clicked on your ad and Facebook builds for you a group of people that are connected to those people or that have similar interests as those people. So and then you keep iterating on that, and then eventually you get this really highly targeted ad that only goes to people that really, really want to see it.
Do you work in advertising? Do you work in advertising? Like, what do you do outside of crypto?
Oh, I'm a product manager kind of for
cool.
a consulting company. I have different role titles depending on what project I'm on. But pretty much it's all digital. It's a tech company, and I just lead teams of developers and developers, designers, QAs, just agile teams to help build apps and websites and shit.
Nice.
So, yeah. So I'm actually on a little bit of a break right now. So I have like a week until I start my next project, and that's why I've been so active in Hex lately.
Yeah.
So I wish I could do this all the time, but unfortunately, after New Year's, I'm gonna have to get back into the 9 to 5 again. But
which is good. It's better to make money outside of crypto and bring it in than try to rely on only crypto stuff.
Yeah,
because then you're a net seller.
Yeah, I've got some other ideas that I would like to try out, but I'm getting there slowly. I think after if I can sell a good chunk of Hex and take a year sabbatical, it would give me time to experiment with all these other ideas, right?
Yeah.
But Dartinyan 8 wants a shout out. So what's good, man? How's it going? Dipcatcher or Hexdente says Dipcatcher is pretty well spoken. So is Coffee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Dude's no joke. Gypsy Lexi, more ads on Nomics might be cool. Yeah, I didn't run those ads actually. That was somebody else. I can reach out to them and I can see. I'd be happy to do that. Let me write that down, sir. That's on my to-do list. I've emailed the CEO before. He's actually responds, so thought that was pretty cool. And anybody can do that, by the way, guys. Old Man Hex says $100 and they get $50 worth of Hex along with it. Wow, you would do that? You would give out $50? That's very nice of you. Identity Block says Facebook just wants your money. Yes, they do, but I'm happy to give it to them if it makes more people click on hex.com. Icon Coffee, more great content. You guys rock. They're loving it, dude. They're loving it. You rock, Icon. You rock. Lazar says structure a day job is good for now. Yeah, I really can't complain. I do have a day job, and I'm sure everybody else here does. My job is more, white collar, tech industry. I shouldn't even say white collar. It's more like hoodies and sweatpants. I mean, you're probably familiar with that at a startup. I think I would describe my company as it used to feel more startup-y, and now it's starting to grow. We doubled in size from 200 people to 400 people. Oh, wow. And now it's starting to get a little bit more corporate, and I'm not a huge fan of that. So that's just one more reason to, I have some other applications. I might go actually work for this healthcare startup.
Oh, cool.
They do, they make analytics software for wearables, biosensors that it's pretty big right now. And I guess they're getting a lot of funding because of COVID and nice. I applied for them, and I might go, if I can make an extra 20, 30K over there per year.
Yeah, of course. Do the people you work with know about Crypto Coffee and know about Hex?
They think Crypto Coffee still is an online coffee shop, which it used to be. So, I talk about blockchain and stuff. We have a little blockchain group, a Slack channel where we all talk about what we can build and stuff. We've actually built a fake blockchain app, right? We built an app using a fake Ethereum token.
Yeah.
But it didn't need to be done on blockchain. It could have more easily been done with a database.
Yeah.
But they know that they think I have an online coffee shop, and I haven't really talked about Hex since then. So
I actually onboarded everyone on my team in week 1 on Hex. I gave everyone only like $10 of Hex or $15, and it was still like when on like from day 1 of launch, like the price was high, and then it was went down. It was still kind of like it wasn't as high as on day 1, but they all did the adoption amplifier on like I think it was probably like day 8, and then no one ever bought anything else. But now it's worth like each one like is worth hundreds of dollars. I've given away tens of thousands of dollars of Hex.
Like they must love you.
Well, I mean, they love me absolutely. They like but one guy did a 100-day stake and lost his private key, lost his password. So I think he's probably bled out. I thought about doing good account. I meant to do good account. I should good accounting. But I don't know if he'll ever find it. And then the CEO did like a 15-year stake. So that one I think will be pretty lucrative. Someone else did like a 10-year stake. So they kind of did all varying ones. But no one moved significantly into they all think I'm crazy about the crypto stuff, because I've been, since I joined, always, because we do these like every week we'll do like a lunch session where like someone will just talk about some unrelated topic. And we've had a couple ones where we talk about crypto, and they probably think I'm pretty crazy, but So but it's relevant to what we do because we help people get legal settlements from so cell phone companies. So a crypto related claim that we get is SIM swapping, where people get like T-Mobile or whomever will. Someone will call in and pretend to be you. They'll get them to transfer your phone number, and then people have gotten their Coinbase accounts hacked from, and lost. It's sad to see. They're like, they'll say, "Hey, I lost $10,000 of crypto," and that was when the prices were like, 3 times lower than they are now. And so, so we handle those types, and then we recently started handling disputes against Coinbase, and so and since we do like the financial institutions, like PayPal is a big one for us, and they've started crypto. So crypto is kind of becoming part of the type of like legal dispute that we help consumers settle with corporations. So it's definitely kind of becoming more on like our company's radar outside of just like speculation and investment.
Damn. Well, that's pretty legendary that you onboarded your whole team into Hex. I feel like I need to start my real world chilling a little bit more. Like I've been entirely online, and sometimes I feel like it's an alter ego where it's like, I don't shill hard enough to my actual friends because I don't think they're just that interested, but I think I'm just going to start giving it away. Like for Christmas, I'm going to give, my roommates a little bit. And, I think that might be the best way to do it is just to give them a public key. Don't even give them a private key so they can't lose it. And then,
let them take it.
Maybe they'll research it. Maybe they'll learn about MetaMask, and maybe not. I definitely am getting it all for my family, right? But at work, I might push it. But we got some Bitcoin maxis at work, so I don't really I don't want to hear it from those guys. Like I don't, they're so convinced that they're right, and some guys are having a hard time even accepting Ethereum. And it's funny because it's like some other developers, they love Ethereum, right? And they're like, yeah, Ethereum is where you can actually build shit. So like, why wouldn't we want to go here? And you can kind of tell there's like a little bit of conflict where it's like the investor, like, I don't know, we have maxis and we have people that like building stuff. So it's like 2 different mindsets, and it's kind of hard to tell them, hey, have you heard about Hex? They'll just be like, no, I can almost guarantee you they would call it a scam. Because
for sure.
They're the kind of people that kind of call everything a scam.
I'm so lucky I didn't fall because after my experience with Simple Token, I actually pretty much like threw in the towel and was like, all right, anything but Bitcoin's got to be a scam. And so but then I was really compelled by Hex, and I think Hex kind of opened my mind to where like I thought that like the fixed supply was like the most important thing in crypto. And so that was why I was kind of wary of Ethereum, because I know that that, like Ethereum doesn't necessarily have a fixed supply. Like, it's kind of at a whim of, what the consensus of the developers is. And,
Right.
and then, and then Hex, having like a constant supply, what that really made me realize is that it's not about the number being fixed. It's about it being known in advance, unchangeable. So that's what I really, like, even though Hex is like inflation is constant, it's publicly known in advance. And also it gives you the chance to out earn inflation. So that, like, from the perspective of someone who's like an above average length staker, they're actually experiencing deflation in the supply. And then people that are below average and like non-stake, they're experiencing inflation. So like, and the average length staker, it's fixed in supply.
Like if you're part of the inflation, you're not feeling the effect, right? You're only feeling it if you're a non-staker. But what you just said is so key. Like it's not about inflation or being a deflationary currency, because that was the whole Bitcoin narrative. And it's like, just because Bitcoin is deflationary doesn't mean that's good, right? It actually kind of makes it weird, because you've got shortages and people lose them, and the fixed supply is not necessarily a good thing. It's just a feature of it. But it's not about whether it's deflationary or inflationary. It's about being known and constant. It's about these variables being public and not changing via consensus or whatever. So that's a good insight. Battered Bull, I like Bitfinesse's idea he's doing for his niece. Sets up a stake for them, gets them Staker app to watch it, and releases it to them when it's matured. That's exactly what I was going to do. I wasn't even going to give them MetaMask. I was just going to say, hey, download staker.app, put this, copy paste this key in there, and you can watch it, because that's such a sticky app. Like I don't think that.
That's amazing.
It's awesome, dude. Like I think it's so much more likely to get somebody to continue to look into something, because there's all these little, flashy things you could click on, and oh, I'm a shy shrimp. Like, cool. What does that mean? And stuff like that. So it's a great chat. Thank you, Lazar. You guys make it great. Battered Bull, I could see doing that for a lot of people. Yeah. Staker app is, my opinion.
Don't lose those keys.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like at some point I'm gonna start to become like a little bank, and I don't know. It's like there are certain people that I would trust more. Johnny says Hex shares are deflationary. Yeah, the shares are deflationary. Yes. BTC and Hex both are inflationary. Yeah, they are. BTC will taper off in like 2044, something like that.
It's actually in 2130 is when it's set to.
Oh, 2130?
Yeah, because it has 32 happening cycles. And so 32, and they happen on average every 4 years. They'll probably decrease. And so it's probably sometime in 2120, 2130. And then I would say that it is deflationary, because like as the halvening decreases, that'll put more pressure on the transaction fees. And what that does is it creates like a price floor of what the minimum transaction amount is. And so all the wallets that have, just a couple Satoshis on them, or just like that dust or whatever, those coins become unspendable, because they will never actually get logged in the blockchain, because they'll just stay in the mempool forever, because they won't, the fee is greater than what they have. And so over time, Bitcoin kind of does become deflationary, and Hex may have the same property too. I think Ethereum is probably more equipped to handle the like layer 2 and like those like scaling solutions. So that, may not, have such an impact. But I actually think that that high fees are actually good for the price, because it creates like a minimum transaction value. So it's not necessarily good for the people that like can't afford it, but overall, like having that price floor, I think is generally a good thing, because it makes people, it like increases the threshold at which they are willing to sell. If like you can't sell, if it's not worth selling your Hex when transaction fees are something, then maybe you'll hold out until it's like a lot higher. So that's kind of how I think about the
like if you have $100 stake and your transaction fees are $10, you'll just let that ride or something, and just hold it for a little bit, or next time you'll stake bigger, because you'll realize, there's no point to making these small stakes. Not to say $100 isn't is small, but it depends on what the gas fees are at the time.
Yeah.
Or transaction fees. BTC creating 18 million coins over the last 10 years is hyperinflationary as fuck. Yeah. I know it's a misconception from a lot of people that call Bitcoin deflationary that it is actually deflationary. It only will be at, I guess, 2100, like 100 years from now or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Hex got rid of that all in the first year, right? So now it's 3.69 max, or as Tanto just said, it's a little bit more for the first 15 years because of the big payday, which is interesting. But it will be after 15 years, 3.69 exactly. And actually probably less, as Richard says, because people aren't all unstaking at the same time. So that liquid supply isn't being released on the market all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. Production is in play. The BTC printers isn't stopping anytime soon. Yeah, I know. China's going to mine it into oblivion. T shares will become deflationary. Yeah, T shares there's a constant amount, right? Yep. Something to think about. Bitcoin did a 2 million X during crazy inflation. Yeah, Hex did a 200X during the craziest inflation, right? So as a parallel, right? Hex's inflation was, I think, a higher rate than Bitcoin because it tried to squeeze it all into a year. And if it still rose 200X, I mean, if you believe in fundamentals, what does that mean, guys? Number go up. Chaos, $1 million of sell pressure every hour to pay for bills. Hex doesn't have that. Yep. Mm-hmm. True. Very true. Very true. Yeah, man. Were there any other topics you wanted to cover? So someone says, get Tanto another soda.
Oh, drinking LaCroix. I feel like I go through like a 12-pack of these a day.
That's how I know you're in tech. You drink LaCroix. I do too. But check this out. I got my own Hexagon Space Force coffee mug. So shout out to Hex Toys. If you're listening, I just got your package. It might have taken a while because I saw it had to go through customs. But thank you so much, man. I've been drinking out of this bad boy. I got my, I wonder if it's going to show up. My patch.
Oh, nice.
My pin.
I need to.
I'm a real Hexagon.
I need to get some. I guess I don't necessarily wear any crypto. Like, I mean, I'm public online.
Yeah.
But I don't really wear stuff outside because I just don't want to get fucking robbed. Like someone trying to, even though if you stole my phone, like you could not even touch any of my money. Like,
yeah, right.
It's more just like, I do, until I'm, like strapped. Like, I don't think I want to like, put it, even though, but I still love the like Hex swag that people have.
Yeah. I feel the exact same way. Hex has made me a little more conscious of my personal security. Being public and all, like we are kind of, but mostly it's online, and so I don't think a lot of people in the real world know about Hex. So wearing it outside is really just like, okay, like cool hexagon shirt, dude. Like what?
Yeah,
nobody's even gonna know what that really means. But yeah, personal. Yeah, I'm gonna get one. Are you?
Yeah, I think so.
What's your price? $1?
My price was like 0.001 cent.
Wait, for a Hex tattoo?
Literally, I don't need I've been wanting to get a Hex tat for a while. I just haven't. Like, because to me, really, the opportunity cost is like, okay, do I want to pay $100 for a Hex tat, or should I buy some more Hex?
Right, exactly.
But yeah, I don't know. I kind of do want one. The things I want to, the tattoos I want to get are, I want to get Hex, and I want to get Rosa Parks' mugshot.
Whoa, badass.
Yeah, so those are the two that I'm thinking about.
That's awesome, man. Get them. Like,
I don't know yet. There.
A Hex teardrop for every hater. Every hater that's been laid to.
My whole face would be covered.
Damn.
I guess one other thing that what's something that you would like to see built around Hex? Like,
I think more right now, just evergreen content and like a place where people can go to get reliable information and a walkthrough and everything. I really want to see just better, like more marketing, like around the whole thing, just like a huge marketing push.
Yeah.
I want to see it everywhere. Like I want to see Hex billboards. I want to have like merchandise being sold. I know it doesn't happen overnight, and there's probably like some legal, stuff to get around to, but I guess that's all I really want to see. As far as like cool ideas or whatever, like cool, people have built things that I hadn't even thought about, and I've just got a whole list, a whole folder full of cool things that people built around Hex
Mm-hmm.
that I feel like I can't come up with an original idea on what could be
Mm-hmm.
better, right? Just yesterday, I found the Hex stake
Yeah.
ladder calculator, right? Like that's awesome. Didn't even know that was a
Oh.
thing. Somebody built the Alexa skill, right? So that was pretty cool. Yeah, I guess just staking would be
Mm-hmm.
probably the watershed kind of moment
Yeah.
where that could be the killer app for all of crypto, right? So maybe that's what I
Mm-hmm.
want to see. There's a lot of things I want to see, apparently. What
Mm-hmm.
about you?
Um, I'd like to see Hex kind of integrated into more like traditional financial services. So I think like Hex borrowing and lending. I know there's some like
Yeah,
blockchain like these money market protocols like OV and
yeah,
Compound and
yeah.
so seeing Hex integrated into those I think would be big because one that would enable people to short Hex
Yep.
and that'll be the short squeeze of it like why would you short something that people are buying for 15 years that's
Yep.
like yeah maybe like you can time like short-term volatility but
Yeah.
I think that'll be that'll be big and then also I think it would be like the one use case of doing a stake through a third party that I think would be valuable which kind of might go against the like Hex stakes being non-transferable would be
Yeah.
if you could borrow against staked Hex. Because something that I think I was talking about it on my last stream, and it's something that I think really is the killer use case of cryptocurrency is using it as collateral to extend credit. Because
But wouldn't you have to borrow against liquid though? Because what if you did default? You can't, if you emergency unstake the stake tax, like it gets nuked.
yeah,
So
so you would post liquid Hex as collateral,
right.
but then the lender, so the lending service would add your Hex to a staking ladder, like maybe split it up, and then so the lending protocol, it's really the collateral they're holding are really the Hex shares, and so like you would post liquid Hex as collateral, and then you would contribute some amount of shares to that collateral pool, and then you could borrow against it, and then if you get liquidated, then the lending service just keeps your keeps the shares and can unstake it, and those are theirs now. And so I think it would the benefit of it from the there are pros and cons to it. I think from the lender's perspective,
Yeah.
one
What if
is
the
that
lender has to repay? Like, what if the lender has to repay the guy early or whatever because they want to either close it out early or extend it, but you already locked in a stake for them at a certain amount of time?
it would be like a fixed term loan. So
Okay.
I guess no paying early. So because the benefit of it would be that like during the loan term, like when you're posting Bitcoin or Ether as collateral, that they, I mean, some probably are like recollateralizing, like rehypothecating the collateral.
Mm-hmm.
But in Hex, it's earning interest, while it's locked. And so from the
Yeah.
lender's perspective, that maybe they can decrease the interest rate charged to the borrower because they are the collateral is earning interest, and but I guess like a negative effect of it would be that in the event of a liquidation, like those Hex may not be able to be liquidated at that time.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think that the lender would probably have to have some type of staking ladder to where there's always liquid Hex coming offline or coming online, so that in the event of like liquidations that maybe so I don't know how it would work, but I think that like that could be like a valuable use because like these like crypto money market protocols, that's like such like a big use case, especially this year with like all this like DeFi yield farming stuff we saw.
Yeah.
That really just like there's like borrowing and lending because it's like crypto is really strong collateral. I mean, even just like like liquid hex as collateral, like even not considering the whole staking element to earn interest while it's collateral, like hex is still a strong one to post collateral because, like it's good to hold collateral on things that go up in price because then it just reduces the amount that you have to like pay. And so, and the more liquid that hex gets, the better it is from the lender's perspective because, like the reason why Bitcoin and Ether are such good forms of collateral is because, they're instantly saleable. Like you can liquidate at any time. And because, and fifth hex you ownership, like, like with the home equity line of credit or like taking money to a pawn shop, like, it's like there's cost of securing it, like a physical asset or physical collateral. Whereas there's not that in crypto, there's like clear line of custody where like other forms of collateral, like, you can borrow against, stocks that you might have, or you can borrow against your house, but then you could also, sometimes you can also take that, you're posting collateral with one group and then you go and borrow against that same asset somewhere else. And so like there's, in other assets, there's not clear line of custody. Whereas in crypto there is. And so like, I think that like the lending and borrowing aspect is like really, really important. And it, totally frees up, people from like this like credit bureau game where like the incentive there, if you want to be able to borrow more money, you have to borrow more to prove that you can pay back money you borrowed. It's like this weird backwards incentive where like to get more credit. And
to get more credit, you have to take out more credit.
Yeah, it's like, literally awful. And like you messing up or you being in a tough situation years ago sticks with you today. Whereas like I think the value of like the crypto backed credit is that there's no credit check because like, if you have the collateral, you can extend credit, and rather than incentivizing you to borrow and spend, it incentivizes you to save. And so
it's a good idea. There's kinks to work out, I feel like, with the staking and like the liquidity and people defaulting and all that. But that also just brought up like what I would like to see from a technical innovation around Hex is just a direct USD fiat to Hex on-ramp, right? And that's more of a setting up, a business structure where that can actually happen and you can actually be a money transmitter. And it's probably going to take a long time, but that I think would be the single most important thing to be being built right now.
Yeah.
And on top of that, it would be nice, like the hedge fund to invest rich people's money in Hex would be great too. Those two things would both be great for the price. I don't know which one's more important, but like USD to Hex on-ramp feels, I don't know. They're both really important.
I think a USD to, or like a fiat to Hex on-ramp that isn't one of the like main exchanges. I think it's such a like the gatekeeping that's kind of leaked into the exchanges. Like the Kraken crowd hates Hex. Like all this, the podcasters and like people they employ, they're total Hex haters. Coinbase, I think, is a little bit more receptive, but still like, Coinbase, they're used to being insiders in these like crypto things, and they're not
getting paid, right?
Yeah, and like Richard's not going to pay them to list, and so they're they don't care. So I actually think it's a benefit that we're not listed on these other exchanges because it allows us to be a little bit more decorrelated. Because if like the closer that Hex is to like the rest of that like FOMO game that people play on these exchanges, like our decorrelation will probably go away. But because like our most liquid market is Uniswap, like we're not like we're not like competing for like those same like liquidity pools on the exchanges. And so I think that it's actually kind of a blessing that we're not. And so I think that like a fiat Hex on ramp that is not one of these major exchanges, even though there's benefits there, it's it's kind of a double-edged sword. Like there's more people that could buy and there's exposure there, but it's also like an easier place to sell. And I think that like less places to sell is actually like a good thing. So
that's a good point. It's you can't make a one way. You can't make a buy only exchange.
Well, I mean, I don't know that maybe that's how you can at least ease the money transmitter like compliance and like a one way. Actually, I think you're right. I think that's what we got to build. We got to build a one way Hex to fiat, on ramp.
We'll see. I might piss some people off. Not sure. Valiant Brand says, if you're in America, just get a concealed. Okay. I don't know if I can say that on YouTube. Valiant Brand said, I'm going to get a Hex tattoo sometime in the future. Everybody see Cookie Boys? Yeah, Cookie Boys tattoo is badass. Steven says, could you see the hedge fund type companies taking on and managing purchasing Hex? Yes, I could. I think that might be the more near-term achievable goal. I could see that, Stefan. Valiant Brand says, that's what's up.
I'll have some updates on that.
What?
I might have some updates on that concept
dude,
in the next couple months. Well,
I can't wait.
Nothing to share now, but maybe. Who knows?
Oh, man. I'm going to shit my FOMO pants, bro. I'm excited. Yeah, I know there's something going on with like 3 Arrows Capital, and there's a lot of rumors, right? A Super Bowl ad would be cool, man. I think those are really, really expensive, so it might take a few years. When people know about nomics.com and they see the Hex logo on the front page, they'll recall the logo from our shirts. I mean, sure. Yeah, they might. We need to promote nomics.com more, by the way. I believe Hex will be able to be longed or shorted in the year 2021. That is I believe so too. I think somebody's working on it, and I think that's a pretty safe bet. Valiant Brand, thanks for all your hard work. Thank you, man. Let's see. It's a great point. Borrowing against your Hex is going to be key for tax purposes. Okay, yeah, that's another angle.
That's a big benefit too. Yeah.
Hex has serious Gen Z virality potential. It's the best way to save, earn, and grow. Things like in-app purchases or Staker app would be rocket fuel for growth and word-of-mouth awareness. Yeah, word-of-mouth is super effective. Staker app is amazing. And then Gen Z, I guess they're on TikTok now. So I was going to experiment with some TikTok ads and see if I can get them. Children of the Grave. It was kind of strange topics, but fun to listen to. What are we talking about? Are we talking about this? Or just being a big fat Hex shark? Shark. Yeah, that's right. I think we want to get rid of those, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Lazar, yes, just be careful. Other communities stand to gain from Hexikins in most cases, but Hex not so much from them. Yeah, we don't really need a lot of these exchanges. That's a good point. People are like win Binance, and it's like that wouldn't really help the price. I mean, everyone, like, we can just push people towards a better, maybe it would help the price if people are buying, but I mean, we want to get people off of centralized exchanges, right? So this goes, pushing Uniswap along with Hex, it drives crypto in the right direction, I think. So,
yeah, for sure.
No coiners and evergreen content is the most optimal target. Yeah. Thanks, man. I hope so. We'll see. I can see how the liquid lending program could be very useful for the lender. The lender can easily accrue by staking. Yeah. It could also be a nightmare though, right? Like
there's definitely risk. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I know there's things to work out. Like, just what if, I guess maybe they could break up the stakes so there's always some coming out in case you ever needed that liquidity. Anyone know where to get Hex stickers? You can go to stickermule.com and make your own. Children of the Grave, great stream. I joined it, studied hexadecimal for a little while. I didn't know you did a stream, dude. I'll check that out later. FinCen, ask 100K surely bond for money transmitters. Surety bond. Oh, surety bond. Yeah. Not
what
time.
What if FinCen started accepting surety bonds in Hex?
Hey, yeah.
I don't
Hex
know.
first.
They probably built it.
They play by our rules now. No, I mean, I didn't know that. So it's basically you have to pay them so that people can spend money.
What a racket.
Yeah. After you left, Brandon, it got pretty wild. Okay, I gotta check this stream out later. I gotta see what was going on. Yeah, less places to sell is a good thing. True, but more places to buy. So you kind of gotta have both. Old Man Hex, couldn't anybody just sell their Hex online and accept credit cards? I think you can. I mean, there's some conversion tools out there like Chain Jelly or whatever, but even I don't know. There's some services like coin payments and stuff that might be able to integrate it. On Silver Stream. Okay. We picked up a Celsius whale. That's awesome. So commingling with other communities works. Okay. Yeah. That, I guess that's a topic, like, getting into other communities, I think is key. Like the echo chamber is great, but hashtagging things like XRP, LTC on your tweets, sometimes, it works because it exposes whatever you're saying to more people. So I think commingling works. I'm a fan. I'm not going to ever advertise people to buy other coins, but we can be friendly to other communities. And, I met with the Dash guy, I'm in a bunch of different chat rooms, we have to learn how to not just blatant chill, right? Like you need to be smooth about it, and you need to be tactful, I guess. I don't know. What do you think about like bridging the gap between other communities?
Yeah, well, I think that I mean, the only things that I don't the only things I recommend to truthfully recommend to people outside of Hex are Bitcoin and Ethereum. Other things I don't see a real reason to even kind of commingle so I don't necessarily I would prefer to rather than trying to say, oh, your coin's good but our coin's also good. I honestly, I mean, maybe it's just kind of my attitude about it, but I kind of like the more kind of highlighting why, rather than telling them yours is good, ours is good too. It should be ours is better than yours, and here's why, and not just a price went up why, but less counterparty risk, less legitimate intellectual reasons why. I think that is because you're not really trying to convince the person you're talking to, you're trying to convince the people reading from the outside. And so I think that rather than everyone's got their own style, and everything probably works. All eyes are good to get on it, but I think that highlighting differences and showcasing kind of using other things as a backdrop to show the value of ours. I think that's probably better than trying to just say, oh, you're good, we're good too, but
it's not going to be all kumbaya and let's all succeed together. Hex is clearly the better product, but I think it's about not being a douchebag and just being able to have an intellectual conversation. And if somebody's not willing to have that with you, then just drop it. Some people are going to just blow up because they own something different than you and they don't like that. But good point, Whoa, mind blown. Good point. Yes. Everyone's saying good point.
Thank you.
Children of the Grave. Yeah, shilling the chart and price went up narrative seemed counterproductive at times. Yeah, people, they might not like to hear about price because they don't want to admit that they missed out, right? So maybe talking about the fundamentals of the psychology of how people are staking for 4.8 years on average and how it's cheaper, better, safer, better for the environment. All the talking points that aren't price, maybe that's a lead in, and then price, speaks for itself. Anybody can read a chart.
See, I actually like so there's the Uniswap V1 chart, and then there's the Uniswap V2 chart, which starts, sometime in the summer. I actually like that there's a chart the more active chart only shows that time, because a lot of people, if they see, price went up 100x, 200x, they may think they missed out and it's too late.
Good
and
point.
So I think that it's kind of a benefit that just the timing of the transition to V2, it creates a chart that, doesn't necessarily look, 40% interest on a chart that's pretty, it's gone up, it's literally been and now, but or over that time, earning 30-40% interest, I feel like that's that's probably more compelling than what the price already did. And then so but also I think that framing it around the long-term savings use case is good. It kind of leaves out there's a whole class of crypto people that are in it for quick pump and dump. They want to buy today, sell tomorrow at a 50%, 100% gain. That that messaging doesn't really attract. And so maybe even this rather than just price went up, I think, and I don't know, this might be kind of hard to just capture succinctly, but talking about the volatility, because that's what I think trade, even though our ethos is really centered around the long-term savings, the traders are still really important because they're the ones that buy high and sell low.
Yeah.
So like they give us good buying opportunities on one end, and they also pump our prices on the other hand. And so I think that like rather than just like price went up, it should be like price went up and then it went back down and then it went back up, like to kind of highlight that there's good opportunities here all the time, even for the shorter term time horizons.
Yeah, it's the volatility brings in the traders, and then I've compared it to like a fly zapper, right? Like they all get wrecked, but then they realize the real right way is staking long term. And I've never heard that point about V2 actually being better because it makes people feel like they didn't FOMO. So that's pretty cool too. Like a lot of people say, oh, am I too late? Because they can't zoom out like high enough, really.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so they can't think on a 15-year horizon. So maybe a few months of shaking up and down is actually a good thing.
Yeah,
I agree. It's style personality thing. I like the latter more. Oh, what are we talking about? Sorry, Brand, wasn't following that. I won't hashtag other coins, but I get a lot of Hex queues without heavy shilling. Find out why they like their coin, and I assure you there are Hex talking points. Yeah, you're right, man. And the real reason why most people like their coins is because they think the price is going to go up. They just cover it up in layers of complexity. So you can find whatever they're fixated on and go from there. BPD, reset the price for new buyers. It's still cheap. Yeah, I mean, it really is. X community wants to be better than Bitcoin and better Ethereum. Most people are so close-minded. Their ignorance is embarrassing. Yeah. Hex has all the things a trader would want to use. I agree. It's got the chart of future market supply, right?
Mm-hmm.
Buy high, sell low. Yes, that's good financial advice. Identity. I'm not going to even keep that up there in case anybody actually does that. Hex attracts smart people. That's why it may take a little longer for adoption. Yeah, that's true. I guess if half the world is below the bell curve. Well, hey man, we've been on for 1 hour and 36 minutes. You got any other topics or anything you wanted to cover?
No, nothing really. If no one else has any questions in the chat, we can wrap it up. This is a great time. Time that just flew by.
Yeah, I know. So many. Yeah, it was awesome. We'll definitely do it again sometime.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, man. Thank you so much for having me on.
Of course. Everybody check out dipcatcher.com. And you want to show anything else?
Dipcatcher.com. I have another site, hex.cash. It's like a tool I use for trading. I don't really share it too much because people should just go directly to Uniswap. It just has Uniswap embedded into the site. That's just like, it's got, kind of just like a compilation of all the useful tools for, when to buy and sell. Dipcatcher.com, fairshake.com. If you have any issues with your cell phone provider or bank, check us out. We can help you get your money back. But yeah,
you also created hex.cash, right?
Yeah.
That was you?
Yeah.
Awesome. So if you guys don't know, hex.cash is also like a trading terminal that you can use. It just shows the price chart and Uniswap on the same screen. So
yeah, very simple.
Good shit, man.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Thank you so much for having me on. And, thanks for everyone who joined us today.
Yeah. Go follow me on Twitch, everybody. We'll see you guys later.